Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
You're going to jump right into it, huh?
Oh, I was going to ease into it a little.
Okay, that sounds good.
We're going to ease into it a little. Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle Belton. I'm editor-in-chief HuffPost. I'm here with Eric. I don't want to mispronounce your name. Is it Kanariwala?
It is. You nailed it.
Awesome. First try. And who is the founder and CEO of Capsule. And John Dahl, who's the CFO of RWJ Barnabas Health. Thank you so much for coming. How you guys feeling right now?
Good.
You feel good?
Feel great.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
We will throw anything things at people using their phones in the audience, though, just so you know. We're a rowdy panel.
And we're about to get wild about telemedicine. It's about to go nuts up in here. So true fact, I'm someone who uses telemedicine, mostly because it's really convenient, and two, without it, I probably wouldn't be able to function because it makes my life so much more easier. I actually told Eric the other day that I'm someone who uses Capsule, but I didn't tell him the reason why I use his company's service. It is because I hate going to the pharmacy, but I need my medicine to live. And it's like I would never get my medicine if someone did not literally come to my house and bring it to me. So thanks to your company, I'm a much healthier and happier person.
Awesome. Thank you.
I mean, you're welcome. So let's kick things off with something, simple, calm and easy. 2020.
All right.
That was a year, and it was really stressful for our country's healthcare system. A lot of the problems that we've had were really amplified in it. So now more than ever, keeping our communities healthy is crucial. How are you guys approaching this with both of your companies? Whoever wants to jump in first.
Go for it.
All right, well, thank you. Well, first I want to comment on your initial thing. I'm glad that Eric was able to help you. I think one of the things that we've learned in the pandemic in 2020 is how personal healthcare really is. And it's personal not only for you as a consumer, a patient, you want to consume it in the way you want, but also for your providers. So when you think about the doctor on the other side of a video screen, a lot of what we experienced going into the pandemic was somewhat of a resistance to lean into that because of a lack of a connectivity to a patient. And that changed overnight. So I think one thing that's happened in 2020 that's good, if we want to say that, is that perspective changed. So we're more ready as a healthcare system. Our physicians are more ready as providers. And I think our patients are more ready, too, to engage in that way. So what we're doing is we're trying to figure out how not to lose the momentum. We went from very little virtual visits to 100% of our physicians doing virtual visits in March of 2020, over 10,000 a week. And we've scaled back some now because we're back open in person, but we're trying to figure out how to balance that convenience, care, and quality in a way that addresses a host of needs, not the least of which for some folks is transportation. So Danielle was nice enough to calm me down. I was anxious because I drove here and parked and couldn't find a spot. But many people don't have that access. So access to a provider is limited. Telehealth's a solution. So we're trying to figure out the right intersection of what we've historically provided, new technology, and what people need. And we love your ideas, so thank you.
Great. I think for us, probably the biggest observation for 2020 was that the entire healthcare system went, overnight, had to flip a switch and go digital. And that's such an incredible shock to a system that's generally been pretty calcified and hasn't changed in the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I think it's a pretty exciting time to be able to innovate, whether it's at a existing institution that has a lot of history, quality, providers, consumers, brand recognition, or you're a new company building from scratch. There is just such a focus on how do we apply technology across that entire consumer experience, whether it's telemedicine, whether it's pharmacy, whether it's behavioral health. There's just all of these different pockets that people really didn't think about where and how can you apply technology to make things better, simpler, faster, easier. And I think there's just like an immense focus on it right now because of the pandemic.
How much do you think of what adaptations that had to take place because of the pandemic, how much of it do you think is here to stay?
I think all of it's here to stay. I think that, I don't think it's going to be 100%. I think that you're going to see people go, I think the idea that you're never going to go to a doctor in person is ridiculous. I think that the opportunity to do telemedicine or virtual visits and pair that with in-person care is really good. I think it gives consumers more choice, but I think you're going to have a hybrid. I think people are going to use virtual care for certain situations, and you're going to continue to do in-person care for other things, and I think it'll make both of them better because they're more personalized to the specific use case that the person has.
If you had to guess, just based on either of you, based on what happened in 2020 and what's continuing to happening now with how people are approaching virtual doctor visits, telemedicine, being able to use technology in order to get your medications, where do you see this kind of going in the future? How do you see this developing? If you could look into a crystal ball and predict what's going to be the next big thing in technology and health, what would it be?
I'll start, or do you have an idea you want to launch today? I apologize.
You go first. I've got a pretty clear view.
Yeah, I think it's going to be in technology. I mean, one of the things in like wearing technology, other devices that can help make the virtual care or home care experience more meaningful and more informative. Hospital at home was something that really sprung up in the wake of the pandemic. We've done some of that in our health system in a very limited way. COVID positive patients get treated with monoclonal antibodies. They get to go home, and we monitor them with some instrumentation that looks at their oxygen levels and other stuff. I think that'll be more pervasive, and it'll be more integrated. I think that's probably the next evolution of where we're going.
I have two things. One, I agree with that. I think that now that everyone in the world has a phone in their pocket, I think it's not that far of a leap to have that start collecting a whole bunch of ongoing healthcare data that then is fed back to a variety of people that you interact with in the healthcare system. So I think we're big believers in that. And I think the second is on like sort of more healthcare services. I think you're going to see there emerge a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 large platforms that bring together a bunch of different disparate services that people want to engage with digitally in their health, whether that's seeing a doctor, whether it's your pharmacy, whether it's tracking different sleep cycles, pregnancy cycles, whether it's seeing a therapist. I think you're going to be able to do all of that from a single, simple, holistic place that may also pull in data from wearables and remote patient monitoring.
So what would you say, there's been a lot of good that's come out of the approach with medicine now, with the fact that there's more access because of technology. But what do you think are some of the downsides? What are some of the challenges that we're kind of facing as the pandemic continues to go on and as more people are debating whether or not they want to actually go see a doctor in person?
I'll let you start with that one. I've been hogging the mic with you.
I would say broadly, and something I was just speaking with a physician about just getting on stage, is like the regulatory environment is pretty, it hasn't kept pace with how fast I think doctors and health systems and consumers have adopted new technology. And so there's always this sort of, in the moment of the pandemic, the government didn't really solve for archaic rules. They just suspended all of the rules. And I don't know that's like a permanent situation where it's like, hey, we used to have all of these laws and we're just throwing the rule book out of the window. I haven't seen that happen in any industry, and I don't expect that to happen here. But we'll see how that plays out over the next 12, 24, 36 months.
So there's a segment of our industry that has historically not been very customer focused. And I think we're learning and we lag and we want to do better. And I think that's historically been a barrier. The pandemic helped break some of those issues down. I think one of the other barriers is really figuring out as a country, as an individual, how everybody takes ownership in their health. And we haven't done, I think, nearly enough work in figuring out how to engage everyone so that there's a shared responsibility. And certainly, we need to take the lead as a large provider system in partnership with our communities, but figuring out how everybody joins in to reduce the cost curve, get us to where we need to be in terms of healthcare value and equity, it's going to be more of a group effort. So elimination of competition, regulatory issues certainly are top of the list. And I think changing the perception of what healthcare is, both from how we deliver it and focus on the consumer's voice and how people lean into making themselves healthy.
So, for both of your companies, what would you say has been the biggest success for you guys to come out of this growth in this particular segment of the industry?
I'm sorry, the success from?
Well, out of the technology in medicine, what has been your biggest success? What are you the most proud of that you were able to adapt and grow with?
Well, I don't know that we could isolate any of our success to technology. I think our health system is still going through a transformation, moving to a single clinical platform. Inherent in that, we're seeing elements of success that are technology driven. An example is more quickly identifying an illness of a patient in our hospitals. So someone who's septic, which is a bloodborne illness, the key to surviving is treating that very quickly. So the technology working behind the scenes mines data, mines patient vitals, and then triggers an alert. And that alert sometimes is faster than our bedside clinicians, not always, but it helps us do better. And I think we're getting better and better at mining and using things like artificial intelligence or algorithms to promote a standard of care. It can never substitute for the quality providers and the people that are there on our teams, but it certainly can help them do better. I think that's probably our greatest success, if there is one.
I'd say for us, one of the things about healthcare is that healthcare is ultimately provisioned by a human. And so the ability to use technology to effectively make humans superhumans so that one person can, at the same level or even better quality, take care of more and more people by personalizing how they spend their time and attention. And so I think one of the things that we've always done from the very beginning is this idea of, we built Capsule and the brand and the kind of core consumer experience around this idea of if there was one pharmacist in the world that happened to be your mom and she was looking after one person and that was you, what would that interaction look like? And what we've done over the last 6 years is built the underlying technology platform that lets that actually be a viable business model, because one pharmacist to one person every year, that doesn't work. But making you feel like there's one pharmacist that's taking care of, but that can take care of hundreds or thousands of people at the same time, because you've got algorithms, you've got the technology that knows at this moment on this day for this condition, this person needs this type of intervention. And so that my experience using Capsule and your experience using Capsule and your experience using Capsule is different. And I think that's been probably the biggest success of how we've applied technology to, at least to our corner of the healthcare system.
My mom was always on me on taking vitamins. If I could have a personal setting that's a step below that level of attention,
yep.
that would be
No, I literally, if someone doesn't scream at me, take a vitamin, it just doesn't happen. I literally have, my phone tells, if I lost my phone, I'd be I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know where to be. I certainly would have shown up today for this panel without my phone.
I think the whole trick is that if you're the kind of person that needs a reminder, then the reminder is helpful. If you're the kind of person that doesn't need the reminder and getting the reminder, it's incredibly annoying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about our government and the role that it plays in our healthcare system. If there was one thing you could change about the governmental approach to healthcare and how it affects our overall healthcare system, what would be the thing that you would change? John?
Only one thing I
Yeah,
get?
you can only change one thing. You got one magic wand. You got one wish.
It would probably be pay equity for the Medicaid and other underserved programs. It's hard to make sure we have equitable care and outcomes with such disparate funding. But there's a list of 99 more, so we'll start there.
We only have 5 minutes left, so it's
Okay.
we can only cram so many of these in.
I'm literally thinking about which of the 1,000 things
I know,
would be
it's a
better.
lot.
I think there's just an incredible gap between how and when foundational regulations in healthcare were written and what exists today from a technology perspective. So if you go back and read, in our case, State Board of Pharmacy laws, these things were written before the computers were around. If you go read some of the foundational provisions of HIPAA, they're all written around the fax machine, not a supercomputer in everyone's pocket. And so I think there's just like such a gap, and there's so much pretzeling that happens at large and small healthcare companies to shoehorn the things that are right for the doctor, that are right for the consumer, that are kind of right for the system, but you need to sort of, instead of going from point A to point B in a straight line, you're sort of in this like crazy, set of machinations to kind of bend what you want to do around the way the rules are written. I don't have a good answer on how you would solve that, but that's probably the biggest thing that we see that would probably accelerate the pace of innovation.
Now, if there are any misconceptions that consumers have about technology and medicine, that particular intersection, what do you think are some of the more common misunderstandings that consumers have?
God, I might get booed off stage, but we're all vaccinated here because we got in the door, right? So there's a contingency, and everybody has their own opinion around efficacy and what's needed. And I think what happens, I know it happens in my own home, is folks will consult Dr. Google or someone else and get information on the internet and assume that it's valid or accurate. And I think that challenge is hard to overcome pervasively. But it's really challenging when you think about it in the context of something as complicated as healthcare.
I think the idea that humans are ever going to be eliminated from technology is like not a real thing. And so we always like to say you want an algorithm figuring out you have diabetes, and you want a really warm and caring doctor telling you what you should do about that. And so I think blending those two things over time and making both of them better is probably what we think is like the future of healthcare. And I think there's certainly an ability to sort of look at all the technology innovation and say, we're going to get rid of doctors, or we're going to create AI doctors, and like that might happen, that might not happen, but I don't think that you're going to ever eliminate the core humanity of delivering and consuming and receiving healthcare.
My 15-year-old is self-diagnosed no less than 100 conditions, none of which were valid or treated by an actual healthcare provider. Right. So, but if you read what she found on the internet, she had all the symptoms.
Oh, like you can you start to type in the question into Google, it auto-populates whatever disturbing question you have about your health.
Things I didn't even know existed, but
So like if you want to get upset, just Google like, what's this mole? I'm just gonna Google what's this mole and see what pops up. Like it's devastating. So we only have a few minutes left. I'd love to hear from both of you. What's next for you guys in terms of your respective businesses? Like what are you guys working on that you're really excited for the future?
Well, for us, it's not really technology-based, although it somewhat is. We're excited about our partnership with Rutgers University and how we advance academic medicine in our state, what that means in terms of training the next generation of providers and changing how we deliver care, integrated with an arm of professionals that are also doing research and advancing cutting-edge therapies. So that's where we hope to go.
We're just excited to continue growing our business and bringing the love of capsule all across the U.S. And the second is to continue to earn the right from our consumers to do more than pharmacy. And so what are all of the other things that are high friction and hard to consume with your healthcare, and continuing one by one to be able to offer those things to people that have had a good experience with the first products that we have.
All right. So Eric and John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was easy peasy. See, I told you it would be.